I'm back with another video where I share 5 games that may have flown under your radar, but I think are worth checking out. Number 1, Gears Tactics. This game was developed by Splash Damage and the Coalition. It is a tactics game set in the world of Gears of War. Seems pretty obvious from the title. The setting of Gears of War, the brutal, gruesome fight against the Locust Horde coming from the underground, works really well married with the XCOM-inspired gameplay that Gears Tactics provides. When you think of Gears of War, you initially think of that third-person, cover-based shooter, but it actually translates really well to a tactics game. Games in this genre, specifically XCOM, are known for their difficulty, and Gears Tactics, I think, is probably a little bit more approachable than the XCOM series, but it definitely has its own difficulty and its own challenges, but I don't think it's brutally so. I think this is a pretty good tactics game if you are new to the genre or if you are just a fan of the Gears of War franchise. I personally didn't think that the story was super memorable. That's not really why I enjoyed Gears Tactics, but the gameplay and the progression and the other facets of this game are definitely worth checking out. Number 2, Lost in Random. Lost in Random was developed by Zoink and was published by EA. It has visuals that are inspired by Tim Burton or Henry Selick movies like Coraline or The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's extremely whimsical when it comes to its characters, world building, and writing. Everything is dice-based and there are puns aplenty. It's very quirky, very whimsical. The humor matches the aesthetic. The gameplay is a blend of third-person exploration, a little bit of puzzle solving, and the combat system. There is also dialogue options and conversations that you can have with NPCs that provide a little bit more information about the world. The combat revolves around hitting enemies with your slingshot to be able to roll your dice and draw cards from a deck. Those cards give you special weapons and abilities that then you can use against the enemies. It sounds a little bit complicated, but it's not actually that bad and it's really unique. So if any of those things sound interesting to you, the unique combat system or the whimsical world or the art style, this is definitely one to check out. Number 3, Soulstice. Soulstice is developed by Reply Game Studios. This game is a bit more of a mixed bag when it comes to its reception. It's a stylized action game in the vein of Devil May Cry, but it has the aesthetic of the anime/manga Berserk. The comparison is very obvious to see. So if any of those words that I just said spoke to you, this is a game to check out. If none of those words spoke to you, maybe this isn't for you. Me personally, I really like the dark setting and I really like the concept of two sisters working together across the 2 different planes of existence. One is a ghost and the other one is living. This idea of the 2 sisters translates to the gameplay as well, with one of the sisters doing melee attacks and the other sister using more spectral abilities. Soulstice is a AA game from a lesser known developer, so it's definitely not perfect, but I like it, and I think if you're into this genre or setting, you might too. Number 4, Metal Hellsinger. Metal Hellsinger was developed by The Outsiders. This game is a first-person shooter, rhythm game, set to a soundtrack of metal music where you fight through hordes of demons. I'm not really sure what else to say. That is pretty much it. I will mention that it definitely takes some practice to get used to shooting on the beat of the song. You have to time your gunshots to the rhythm and the beat of the music, which can be a little bit unnatural. You're used to in first-person shooters, just shooting all the time or shooting when an enemy gets too close or things like that. In this game, you really have to take into consideration your positioning and this song and optimizing damage and things like that for it to really be as effective as possible. However, if you can get the hang of the gameplay, the music rocks, and the flow state that this game provides is awesome. Before we get into the final game on the list, I just want to ask that if you're enjoying this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. The last game that I want to talk about is Back 4 Blood. Back 4 Blood was developed by Turtle Rock Studio. This is another mixed bag when it comes to reception, but it's pretty much the closest you can get to playing a modern Left 4 Dead. Where it struggles, in my opinion, are the areas where it tries to differentiate itself from Left 4 Dead, like adding cards to its upgrade system, weapon system. You collect cards and they can help, boost your character and do different things like that. I think that adding the extra fluff and stuff that they did around this game wasn't really necessary, but I do think that there is something really satisfying about when you and a group of friends are fighting a massive horde of the undead and you end up coming out on top. Back 4 Blood had some difficulty curve issues when it came out at launch. I think that some of that stuff has been addressed by the developers in patches. There are other games out there that have adopted this formula, but Back 4 Blood is probably the truest Left 4 Dead successor that we've gotten so far. So if you're looking to scratch that particular itch in the closest way possible, meaning, you're killing zombies, this is probably a game you should look into. So that's 5 games that may have flown under your radar that you might like. Let me know in the comments what games you would add to the list. If you missed my first video in this series, go check it out to see 5 other games that fit the same criteria. That's all for now. Stay friendly, gamers.